Well, the long weekend came from Fogey originally. He actually has been pitching a much more ambitious game that we might do down the road that involves RV trip and like physically simulated interior of RVs with multiplayer driving around, all that kind of like. Fogey's very invested in this kind of ability to kind of go on these like long trips with people. But it's, on the technical roadmap, it's kind of far out for us. And so we were trying to think through like, how do we get this kind of experience of like feeling like you're getting to travel with people and get the joy of hanging out with them on vacation and that kind of stuff, but in sort of like a smaller, more incremental step. And so we jumped ahead to the destination there, which is like going camping with your friends, and the joy of kind of sitting around a campfire, and that was kind of the origin of it. We were originally thinking of calling it just camping simulator, since it's sort of in the space of those kind of like simulator games that we're doing. But A, it's a boring name. Two, it's already being used. And then I don't know some other counting. I don't know why I did A and then two, but some future counting system, right? But we brainstormed a bunch of name ideas, and long weekend was the one that was like most evocative for us because everybody looks forward to a long weekend.
Oh man, I'd have to so where the original idea for Long Weekend came from, without revealing too much about our long term plans. Uh, Brandon and I were talking about kind of experiences that you could have in Discord, kind of just hanging out with people. We've been really interested in doing cool Discord activities and talking about the kinds of things that people do in Discord when they're hanging out. We wanted something that was very much just like a chill hangout, like you're hanging out around a campfire. Like what would it be like if you were physically co-located and hanging out in Discord? And what would that experience be like for people to kind of do something similar to what they would do in real life for hanging out with their friends? So that was the main inspiration for it, was finding an activity that matched the way we were already hanging out in Discord. And so hanging out around a campfire, grilling food, eating food, felt like the right thing to start with.
The I would say primary sources for inspiration here for me are Animal Crossing. I grew up in small town Texas and went camping often and really didn't like it. In Texas, it's a little bit rough, right? Like the everything's trying to kill you. The plants are trying to kill you. The animals are trying to kill you. The sun is trying to kill you. Like it's all out to get you. There's a certain majesty to camping. It's like hard to escape the beauty of nature, right? Like even when it's trying to kill you. And so, games that, there's a lot of stuff in that space these days that I think is kind of inspirational. I mean, the main touchstone for me is Animal Crossing. I've always loved the Animal Crossing games and just that feeling of getting to go live in a little simulated environment with other people and have lots of fun activities to do and places to explore, and just like a different tonality for games when you like the goal is pretty unstructured and like the joy of it is just hanging out. But obviously there's a lot of stuff in the survival space too that I think is in the simulator space that are people exploring games as an interactive and immersive medium that I think are interesting touchstones to pull from. I think we'll have our own flavor though. Like I think we're settling on something that really focuses on the fun of hanging out with other people in this space and leveraging the fact that we can ship to the web to make it super easy to jump in with somebody else. All you have to do is click on a link.
Animal Crossing is one of our key sources of inspiration for this, both for gameplay and I think for visual style. We're looking for something that is not like a crazy hardcore realistic thing, where we have to accurately model the hairs on somebody's arms, and do similar with the interactions that you have with the environment. So a little bit of abstraction was really good for us there. Also, it has kind of a pretty we need something that is not crazy high fidelity for our hardware targets. We don't want stuff that we have to spend a lot of time putting a lot of detail or modeling or shader tricks and things like that to get looking good. So doing something that's a little bit more abstracted and still feels really good. We're working with simpler simpler shapes, but they're still really good in terms of quality and look really nice and feel enjoyable to be around. So Animal Crossing was definitely one of the touchstones that we tapped in for that.
About the Beeps and Boops, I would say that generically speaking, the thing that really gave me so many good vibes when thinking about, like, think about long weekend, reopened a lot of those memories of like not having a lot of money and going on vacation with friends, and there's a lot of like very nice memories, not just about us as a group, but even just around us. There were interesting people doing their own thing, living their own lives and everything, and trying to capture that in a way that doesn't necessarily paints too much the colors for everybody else. It's a little bit tricky, but trying to figure out what is the most like a silent soundscape that you can have at a camping, what can be like the coziest type of bonfire that you can find, what if you had something around you in the distance that might make your night interesting, but not in a scare way. Those are the things that trying to paint in the soundscape in a way.
Yeah, we were looking at some. We're doing some stuff with like a ranger station, and we looked up a ranger station yesterday. Google image search, and there were these ranger station signs that like the Department of Agriculture, like I don't know, they have Department of Agriculture on them, so I don't know if it was like a federal initiative or something like that. But they all have this kind of cool old mid-century aesthetic where they kind of swoop around and they have this font, and it's really consistent across all of the signs. And I was like, oh, that's it. We gotta have a sign that looks like that near the ranger station. Come up with a cool name for our campgrounds.
The funny part about trying to develop that grill was I got to take a look at all these crazy, wacky inventions. I really like this book. It's like crazy Japanese inventions where they put the most ridiculous stuff together and try to make it real. And so, yeah, I was trying to find inspiration from everywhere, and then just getting the animation right to it, trying to explode it to see how the pieces work. It was kind of cracking me up. My son would come and check out what I was doing. It was like, whoa, what's that? So, yeah. Tried to make it nostalgic feeling with some tech and some coziness with some friendly animations to it.
We're really focused on sort of like what is the absolute smallest core piece of the experience that we can ship and go ahead and get it out there so we can get feedback on, kind of the vibes-based part of it before it even really has like a lot of like gameplay mechanics built into it. So really the goal is get you to the campsite, let you explore, have it be a beautiful place with, great music and ambience. And then the central mechanic that we're working on right now is multiple people hanging out around a fire. And so there probably won't be a lot to do in the initial version. It's probably, collect some sticks and tend the fire. But that should be enough for us to get a sense for whether or not the feel of the experience overall is something that's compelling to people. Like if almost as the game works as sort of like a multiplayer screensaver in its initial version. We'll add a bunch of stuff over time, but like we want to start from just like the smallest possible kernel of an experience.
For this project, we've stood up support for Character State Machine, which is one of my favorite ways to go about creating the interactions that a character can do with the environment, with objects in the environment, and with other players. So we got that stood up, and it's up and functioning. And right now you can move a character around in the world and jump. And we're working on tuning up the jump. We're working on tuning up the camera. We've got a camera attached to the character. Getting it positioned correctly is still something that we're working on. Getting it moving around correctly is still something that we're doing tuning on as well. Naka and I are currently dealing with a scaling challenge on the model because the model was very large when we initially brought it into the game. It was about 5.5 meters, which is tall. On the tall side. So we're scaling it to get it down to more human proportions, and for whatever reason, now we have it scaled appropriately in Blender. We're using Blender for our modeling and animation, or for some of it anyway. And then, but the character is showing up at like 10 centimeters tall at the moment, so it's really tiny. So we have to figure out what's going on there. But by the end of the week, we're hoping that players will be able to wander around in the environment, interact with some like branches and other like pieces of wood that you can pick up to go gather like tinder and fuel for the campfire, and then go over to the campfire and feed that fire and get it set up and play some animations and hopefully sit down on a chair or something. Not a lot, but 2 weeks is not a lot of time to get a bunch of stuff in, so we're moving pretty quick.
Who knows where this stuff is going to wind up, right? Like our process is very iterative, so when we start building out individual gameplay elements, it may change a lot from what we have a conception of currently. But the thing that I'm excited about is we've been talking a lot about the game has a lot of like mechanical similarities to, if you're familiar with mechanics like crafting and survival games, we'll have gameplay like that, right? It's like you can go into the forest and maybe you can fish and maybe you can like collect stuff for the fire, and maybe you can go like forage for mushrooms or whatever. But the thing that we kind of got excited about when we dug into it more and more was like really kind of celebrating those moments. So it's not so much like you go up and you hit a button to interact with a thing and then poof, like a fish appears in your inventory or whatever, but like, proper good fishing minigame. But taking that same metaphor and extending it to other things as well, where it's like, tending the fire has its own gameplay mechanics associated with it that, really kind of focuses on what that's like at a sort of like textural level. And then just kind of repeating that throughout the game experience. I think what we want for it in the long term is that, it becomes a great hangout space for you and your friends to hang out, both in the sense that it's a chill, relaxing place to socialize, but that also it's a place where you can kind of do stuff over time that makes it a nicer space for you and your friends. And, I'm excited about like real-time clock mechanics and other ways of adding kind of persistence and opportunity for you to customize and make it feel like you're really turning the space into your own over time. So, but it's early days. Like, I think we're really trying to be be motivated by the things that are compelling when we first get in there and experience it together.
Okay, so roadmap for long weekend. Short-term plans, we want to get fishing functional, getting a fishing mini game going. And I'm hoping that that's in the next major revision for the game, so sometime within the next couple of weeks. Being able to go to one of the bodies of water that are in the game and being able to initiate some fishing. I want to have some light progression associated with that as well, whether that's being able to upgrade your gear, your rod, your reel, your lure, your bait, things like that, or something else, but something along those lines where you're able to catch some fish, progress a little bit on your ability to catch fish and find and catch harder fish, more rare fish. Inventory systems, actually I should have mentioned that in the prior section, but we have inventory systems online, so getting to the point where you're able to catch fish, store fish, and then go over and grill fish, and then subsequently eat fish, maybe make like some fish sandwiches or whatever, but being able to grill in general is something that we're hoping to get online in short term as well. So you'll be able to, in addition to fishing, to get the resources to create some food items. We're gonna have like I think it's gonna be a magical cooler that you're just gonna be able to get stuff out of, so be able to make things like hot dogs and burgers and stuff like that and hang out around the campfire. Longer term, and like not like absolutely confirmed, but this is the direction that we've been talking about and want to push towards, is players being able to have their own customizable like RV. I think on Discord I mentioned like the idea, I like a cozy little home that can move. Something about being able to kind of contain your space and have a thing, but also being able to take it with you wherever you go is really appealing to me. So we've been talking about doing something with like these customizable little RVs. So the campground is going to be set up to have spots to park these, but they're not going to be there in Rev 1, but you'll probably be able to see where they're able to be parked. And then each of those little plots, when we get the functionality online, you'll be able to claim one of them. Your RV will be parked there, and then your RV is something that you'll be able to customize and has its own set of fun little features that you can access and take advantage of. So that's long term and probably a ways out.
The thing that has been really fun about making Long Weekend and everything we do at 2 weeks is working in public, essentially. And we're trying something new with Long Weekend, which is, we are talking about the development of it before we've even released an initial prototype of it. And we've already had a lot of people hop in on the Discord and give their own thoughts on like what they like out of these kinds of experiences. That's been very helpful for us to kind of calibrate. And I'd love for folks to join us. So you can join us on the Discord at discord.gg/2weeksgames. And come follow along with what we're building with Long Weekend and other games, and help give us input and feedback that helps us make it a better experience.